Hello, dear students, and a very good morning to all of you. Today, I am going to provide you the first part of the fourth chapter of civics, that is, laws and democracy. In the third chapter, we have learned about the parliamentary form of government, and we learned this that in India, for the decision making and for law making, Indian Parliament is responsible. We have seen that how a bill comes or becomes a act by going through different procedures in the parliament houses. Okay, so in this part, we are going to learn about the laws and why laws are important in a democratic country like India. Okay, so let's start the chapter. Firstly, as we are knowing that in India, Parliament is in charge of making laws. So students, what are these laws that we are going to learn in this chapter? So let's have a look what we will learn. In this chapter, we will learn about what is law. Do these laws apply to everyone? That means our laws are equal for everyone in India. How do new laws came into being? How new laws come to existence, that we have learned about constitutional amendment and all those things. So we will learn about that how all these things happen by the parliament. Now we will see, could there be laws that are unpopular and controversial? That means we will learn about that every law that is issued or that is enacted by the parliament or by the government of India, are all those laws acceptable by the people who are living in the country? Everyone belongs to that law, everyone is ready to follow that law, or is there any law that is unpopular or controversial? That means people are not satisfied with that law. This chapter is very easy. You have all the concept you have learned earlier also, but now we will learn it in little bit broad way. So let's start the chapter. Students, just imagine your school without rules one day. Can you imagine your school without rule? So let's imagine. So if a school is without rules, then there will be chaos all around. Every student is free to do whatever he or she wants to do. Like we are having different rules and regulations in our school, like school timing, school uniform, in which class you have to sit. Okay, we are having timetables, we are having proper schedule that we follow in our school. If all these rules and regulations will not be there in the school, it is really impossible to organize or to govern a school. Okay, the so without any rule or regulation, no school or an organization can work. Even our home also cannot work without rule. So that is only rules are important part of our lives, and it makes our life disciplined, it makes our life smooth going. Okay, so that is why rules are important everywhere, in every organization, even in country also rules are important for the proper functioning of the government. So that is only, so we come to know that for running any organization and to regulate the life of people, we are human beings. We are not animals. Like animals do not follow any rules and regulations. That is why people used to say that be like human being or behave like human being. Because we have to follow certain rules and regulations, as we have to live with various number of people, those who have their different perspectives in life. So that is why rules and regulations are very important in human beings life. Okay, so we will see what is law. I hope it is clear that rules and regulations are very important, and these rules and regulations are only known as law. So basically, if we want to give a proper definition of law, that means law is a system of rule and regulations. That means if we do not follow rules and regulation, then what are the next procedure that will happen? Okay, so if we are not following any rule and regulations, then we will be punished for that. So that becomes a law when there is a body that enact a law, when there is an authority that enact a law for us, and we have to follow the law. And if we will not follow the law, then we have to go through several punishments. So that is only, law is a system of rule and regulations that are used to regulate the life of the people, so that the life of the people goes smoothly or properly. Laws help in enforcing discipline in the society. Laws are important so that people can live peacefully and with discipline in the society. Now we will see. So you are familiar with some of the laws, like laws specified to age of marriage. You are knowing that the age of marriage also, we have learned about various laws that earlier child marriage were there, Now laws were introduced that child marriage are not good, and that is why laws introduced for the age that is restricted for the male and female to get married in Indian society. Now laws for driving vehicles on the roads, we are having laws for driving vehicles on the roads also, and for that like helmet, or we have to go by left side only, or we have to follow the traffic rules. All are the laws that we have to follow while driving vehicles on road or while going on road. So that is for that, if we will not follow these laws, now there are several punishments also. So that is only there, these are some of the familiar laws that we are knowing. Like this there are so many laws, like for buying and selling also there are so many laws in the country. Now the question arises, who make these laws? And we are knowing that these laws are legislate by the parliaments or the legislatures in the legislative organ of the Indian government. Now, how these laws are enacted, that we will see in this chapter. Okay. So first, I am giving you one situation. There's just analyze that situation. Then we will move further. Do laws apply to all? Are laws equal for everyone? So that we will see. Just analyze the situation. There is a government official whose son has committed a crime, and he is sentenced a 10-year jail by the district court of. So now next what happened, that government official hide his son from the jail. Now is it right to hide someone, or do you think that the government official's actions were right? Should his son be exempted from the law just because his father is economically and politically powerful? So no, this is violation of law, and we will see that how this is a violation of law, because laws are applied everyone equally, whether it is any person. So India follows the principle of rule of law. That means there are some rules to follow the laws also in India. So let's have a look what are those laws. All the people in independent India would be equal before the law. Everyone is equal before the law. Okay. The law cannot discriminate between persons on the basis of religion, caste, or gender, or any other basis. No two people can be discriminated in front of the laws just because they belong to any other religion or caste. Laws apply equally to all citizens of the country, and no one can be above law. That means everyone is equal for the law. Neither a government official, nor a wealthy person, nor even the president of the country is above the law. Any crime or violation of law has a specific punishment. That means though the person who is violating the law, he or she will get a specific punishment for that, that is already written in the constitution, or he or she has to go through a process through which guilt of the person is to be established by the law. But was it always like this? Well, we were following the principle of law from the starting only, or the laws were equal for everyone from the starting only. So let's have a look the history of the laws. That is this situation same since ancient times? Do these rules and regulations were equal for everyone from the ancient time? So our answer will be no. As we are knowing that India is not like a nation like it is today. India was divided into various number of small kingdoms, and every kingdom is ruled under specific rulers, and the way of ruling the kingdom it is different. Every ruler has different formula of ruling his kingdom. So that is why the rules and regulations were different in all over the country, and every kingdom has different rules and regulations. Sometimes in ancient times there were innumerable and often overlapping laws. Now, what is the meaning of overlapping laws? At that time, different communities enjoyed different degrees of autonomy in administering these laws. Like every ruler is having his specific way of administrative administration his kingdom. He administers his kingdom according to himself only. He decides the which thing is crime or which activity is crime. He only decides that what are the punishments for a specific crime. In some cases, the punishment that two persons received for the same crime varied depending on their caste backgrounds also. Earlier, people were discriminated on the basis of caste also, like the higher caste people were not subjected to that much punishment in comparison to the lower class people. Okay, so with lower caste being more harshly penalized, lower class people, if they commit any crime, then they have to go through a harsh punishment in comparison to the higher caste people. Okay, so later on all these things started creating problem. In the medieval period also there was something that India follows the traditional way like Rig Ved, and there were many books in India that were depending on or that were formed for the, like Manusmriti was there, and in the medieval periods there was Hammurabi was there. So people used to follow the rules and regulations, or they used to follow the punishment according to the things that were written in these books. That means earlier times Manusmriti, and there were many books. According to that, the people were given punishment in the ancient, in the medieval period. So all these things created problem. People were facing a lot because for the same crime, if two persons created same crime, then the punishment was different according to their rulers. So that when the colonial period started in India, so it is believed that Britishers were credited that they introduced the system of law in India. But are is that time also the laws were equal for everyone? We have learned many chapters in history, and we come to know that Britishers were using their power to exploiting Indians from that time only. So how can they introduce rules and regulations or the laws that are equal for Indians also and for the Britishers also? So the British people started introducing arbitrary laws in India. What is the meaning of arbitrary laws, that we will see? So basically during colonial period, new system of laws began to evolve. Okay, new system of laws started in India, and the British officials introduced various laws in India. So basically, when India was under the British rule, people of the country were subjected to many discriminatory policies and laws, as rules were different for the Britishers and rules were different for the Indians also. Okay, so were those laws equal for all? No, those laws were not equal for all. Let's take an example of doctrine of lapse. We have already learned this. As we are knowing, the British government could annex any Indian state if the king of that state died and did not have a son of his own. We have learned in doctrine of lapse that the kingdom will be lapsed if the king do not have his original heir. Okay, adopted sons are not allowed to continue. So this is doctrine of lapse. So this was basically, this rule was made, or this law was made to exploit us, to take our territories under the British control. So that is also the arbitrary or the unequal law that was introduced by the Britishers. One more law was introduced by the Britishers, that was the Vernacular Press Act 1878. We will learn about this later. So according to this act stated that only newspaper in Indian language would face scrutiny and certain restrictions by the government. Now what is the meaning of the word vernacular? Vernacular means regional languages like Marathi, and other languages, Bengali, Punjabi, these were the regional languages. At that time, today also, regional papers or the newspapers are published in vernacular languages also. So Britishers just stopped, or Britishers just restrict Indians to issue or they publish their newspapers in vernacular language. This act restrict Indians to issue or to publish newspapers in their regional languages. So this here also Indian peoples were exploiting and they were facing unequal laws. Now next is Rowlatt Act in 1919. This act is also very important, and that was introduced by Britishers in India, and after that law only the Jallianwala Bagh massacre or the Jallianwala Bagh Kand took place. You, or maybe you all are familiar, we have many times we have seen Jallianwala Bagh massacre on Independence Day or 26th January skit. So basically, what was Rowlatt Act? Authorized the British government to imprison any person suspected of terrorism without trial. That means the Britishers, when the Indian people started opposing or started revolting against the Britishers, now Britishers introduced Rowlatt Act. Now they started arresting the people without any giving them any notice prior, or they are not subjected to trial also. That means they were not allowed to go through any process to prove that yes, they have not committed that crime. So that was Rowlatt Act. If Britishers want any people, they were free to arrest that people on the basis of subjected activities like terrorism. Okay, so these, at that time also, basically Britishers introduced the laws that were beneficial for them. The laws were unequal and people were facing lots of problem in India. So those laws were known as arbitrary laws. Now let's see what are arbitrary laws. So basically arbitrary laws means the laws that is especially published or issued by one person individual on the basis of discrimination. Okay, that is especially based on one's opinion. Like Britishers were introducing the laws for their benefits, they were not taking care of the Indian people. Okay, that is based on judgment, that is based on differences, discrimination. They make their own rules, they were fixed rules, they do not listen about the people, they are happy or not. So this is only known as the arbitrary laws, the laws that were we can say that published or issued by a person or by a group of person or by a government that are not they are not going to listen whether the people are happy or not. They issue the law for their benefits. So this is arbitrary law. So we have learned that in ancient and medieval period, laws were different. Different communities were having their different laws, and that was also creating problem for the, because for the same crime, two persons were getting different punishments. Later on, we have seen the colonial period. They have introduced the system of law in India, but those laws were arbitrary. That means those laws were totally on the basis of the British people and they introduced the laws for their benefit. Later on, we will see that the Indian leaders or the Indian nationalists played an important role in the law making and the decision making process of India. Because as the Britishers started introducing all these arbitrary laws, the Indian nationalists began protesting and criticizing the arbitrary laws of the Britishers. In India, lots of protests started. Like this time also, if people are, we have learned about dissent, if people are not happy with the laws introduced by the people, by the government, we are free to protest, we are free to show our displeasure, our disagreements towards that law. Okay, so at that time also, when the Britishers started introducing arbitrary laws in India, the Indian nationalists began criticizing arbitrary laws of the Britishers. They started fighting for greater equality, the literate people of India like B.R. Ambedkar and all people. So they started fighting. Okay, basically they started fighting for the equality and wanted to change the idea of law. So for that, we are very well aware about this, that the leaders who drafted the constitution make sure that there would be no arbitrary laws in the country. Like laws should be equal for everyone and there should no arbitrary laws, there should no such laws in India that only helps one person. Okay, so basically, after that, the Constitution of India, when the Constitution was India was drafted, it was based on the idea of rule of law. That means laws are equal for everyone. No one is above the law. No one should be discriminated on the basis of their caste, religion, or region, or anything. That means laws are equal for everyone. If a person is committing any crime, he or she should be punished according to the laws of the country. The parliament passes new laws as well as revise the existing ones according to the need of the people and society. We have learned this also, that rules and regulations are already combined in our constitution, but in case we have learned about constitutional amendment, in case the society needs any change in laws and rules, then those laws and rules can be changed according to the need of the society also. Now let's have a look how new laws came about. Okay, now we will see how the new laws came about. So let's have a look. We know that Parliament has an important role in making laws. But how Parliament get to know that which law is required to be made? This is the great question, that we are to knowing that Parliament is responsible for making the laws. But how Parliament come to know that which type of law should be necessary or which law should we make, or how, what the people are thinking or what people are needing, are in need of. So basically there are many ways through which this take place. In class 7th we learn about public opinion. We have learned what is the meaning of public opinion. Public opinion means the wish of the people. Okay, what the people are willing and what the issues the people are facing. So basically we have learned and how public opinion is represented in front of the government by the media, by the resources that are available in between. So that is only we have learned about media, that media plays an important role in establishing connection between the government and the people. So they encourage the people to gain public opinion. They encourage the people to know about the wishes and the issues that people are facing in country, and they only take it to the government so that government aware about that yes, people are in need of these things. So let's have a look what are the ways that gives us all these things. So basically in India, issues raised by different groups of society, sometimes when people are in need to change some laws, they started raising against issued in the society, like by protest, by peaceful march, by candle march, by signing protest. So all they used to do. Next thing is they used to start campaign, like from with the help of TV, newspaper, to generate public opinion. So in democracy, public opinion plays an important role. Public opinion controls and checks the government from becoming irresponsible. The public opinion plays an important role. By that only we comes to know that yes, the government comes to know that the laws enacted by the government are welcomed by the people or not. Okay. So basically, so here I am providing you an example from of a making of law, that how a law is made. So here I will provide you one example of issue of domestic violence was brought to the attention of parliament and the process adopted for this issue to become law. I will provide you an example of domestic violence, that how this issue was brought to the parliament and how the procedure of lawmaking took place. So first of all, before starting the example, it is, let's see in here, it is the situation of October 2006. As you can see, it is the situation of October 2006, and just see the newspaper. In newspaper it is given the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 passed. It is the newspaper. Okay, so basically there was a act that was passed and the people are discussing in October 2006. See what they are discussing. Shazia, did you read today's newspaper? Isn't it a great day for women? Not just women. Non-violence free homes will benefit everyone. Kusum, it's taken such a long time to get this law passed. In fact, it began with establishing the need for a new law. Now, who are Kusum and Sazia? Kusum and Sazia work for a women organization. They remember the journey of how the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act got passed. So there are two ladies, those who are working in a women's organization, and they are communicating between both of them, and they are saying that by reading the newspaper, they are saying that have you read today's newspaper? A great news is there in the newspaper. Okay, and now they are talking about that how they fight for this domestic violence that become a law. Now before going learning this example, it is important to know what is domestic violence. So let's have a look what is domestic violence. Domestic violence, you are familiar with this, is referred to injury or harm that is caused to a woman in the house by a male member. Okay, so woman, whether it is a wife of someone or daughter or mother or anyone, if she's a woman and she is anyhow facing injury or harm, like physically people are beating her or they are emotionally abusing her, so that is known as domestic violence, the violence that took place in the house. Abuse of the woman can also be include verbal, sexual and economic abuse. So basically the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. This act came to protect the rights of women against the domestic violence in the house. Okay, so we will see that how this act passed in the parliament. So let's have a look. This is the situation of 1991. Look, I need advice. My husband beats me up. I haven't told anyone so far. I feel so ashamed. I can't go on like this anymore. but I have nowhere to go. A lady is talking about that yes, I need advice because my husband beats me up. I do not told this to anyone, but I feel so ashamed. I feel so pity for myself. I can't go on like this anymore. Okay, I need some changes. So, but I cannot go. Where to go? She is just asking ki where I can go if I'm facing all these problems at home. Now, another one is saying, I am being ill treated by my son and daughter in law. They verbally abuse me. A mother is there. She is saying that my son and daughter in law used to abuse me. They do not allow me to use my bank account also. And someday they will throw me out of the house also. Now, again, next conversation is there. I do not want to go to the police. The first lady is saying, I don't want to go to the police. I just want to stop the violence. But I want that my husband is beating me up and all these things could stop. The mother is saying, I just don't want to be thrown out of my house I am living in. That is my house. I don't want to be thrown out of this house. The other one is there, and he is saying, or she is saying, unfortunately, the existing law is a criminal one and does not offer these options. Like the laws, there is a criminal one until unless someone is committing any crime, and this beating up and this throwing one of the house, it is not a crime. Okay, so basically this law cannot prevent you from all these things. Now let's see what happened later. Throughout the 1990s, the need for new law was raised in different forums. That means from 1991 to all the years 92, 93, 94, 95. Now this all these situations or this demand for this law raised, demand against the protection, or we can say protection of women against the domestic violence started rising. Many people started doing public hearings. Females started coming in front and saying that they are facing domestic violence at home. So let's have a look. It is a public hearing, and there is a lady. We have heard testimonies of several women, that we have learned about several women. We have seen that women want protection against being beaten. Many women face domestic violence at home, and now they need to stand for their rights. The right to continue living in a shared household. That means we want to live in a house that should be shared. That means that is my house. I should not want to be out from this house, and often temporary relief. We need a new civil law to address this issue. So we need a law that can address the domestic violence at home. Now, in 1999, Lawyers Collective, a group of lawyers, law students, and activists, after nationwide consultation, took the lead in the drafting the Domestic Violence, that is Prevention and Protection Bill. This draft bill was widely circulated. Now, later on, the people, those who are responsible for enacting laws, like lawyers or group of lawyers, law students, those who are knowing something about laws, they started making consultations and they introduced a draft with the help of representatives in the constitution. The definition of domestic violence should include physical, economic, sexual, and verbal and emotional abuse. They are discussing in group that domestic violence should include all these things. Okay, a lady should not be harassed verbally also. Now, another one is saying the law should cover any women living with shared domestic space. They should be protected from being evicted from the shared household. That means a woman should not be thrown out of his house in any case. And next one is saying, what about some monetary relief? That means a lady or a woman should be provided monetary relief. That means money related relief also, financial relief also. Now we will see. Meetings were held with different organizations. Now, in different areas of India, lots of meetings were held. The women's movement want a new law on domestic violence. Meeting is going on. The government should introduce in its parliament soon. That means women are in need of a new law for the domestic violence, and it should be introduced in the parliament soon. Finally, the bill was introduced in the parliament in 2002. Now let's have a look. The bill was introduced in the parliament in 2002. Now what was that? Now again one conversation is going on. This bill has none of what we have been suggesting. Now the bill was so passed, but what was there in bill? The women are not happy with that still. They are saying that though the things that we have suggested, it is not there in the bill still. We must oppose the bill in its present form. We have to oppose the bill. Okay, now third one said, let's have a press conference. We could also start an online petition. Okay, so let's have a press conference, let's collect the media there. They will tell that we are not happy with the this act, and later on we will find one petition also, signature campaign also. Now let's see. Several women organizations, National Commission for Women, made submissions to the Parliamentary Standing Committee. There is a Parliamentary Standing Committee. Now, all the women organizations started submitting that yes, we are not happy with the law that is enacted in 2002. Esteemed members of the Parliamentary Standing Committee, the present bill must be changed. They said that yes, this bill should be changed. We do not agree with the definition of domestic violence being proposed. There were some, we can say that, errors, or there were some things from which the women were not still happy, so we have to change the rule and we have to listen, or we have to include the suggestions that they have provided. The laws need to provide for temporary custody of the children, and this law should also provide the custody of the children to the female. So basically, in December 2002, the Standing Committee submitted its recommendation to the Rajya Sabha, and these were also tabled in the Lok Sabha. Debate and discussions goes on in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and later on, the committee's report accepted most of the demands of the women's group, and both that committee accepted the demands and the suggestion of the women groups, and finally a new bill was reintroduced in the parliament in 2005. Okay, so after being passed in both the houses of parliament, it was sent to the president assent. As we are knowing, bill become an act, and the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act came into effect in 2006. So we have seen that how women were facing problem from the 1990s only. They were fighting so their problems could be listened in the parliament, and firstly the law was introduced in 2002, but it needs some changes, amendment. People were not happy with that law. Again they go to the parliament, or anyhow suggestions were sent to the parliament. Now again sittings took place and people's demand were listened, and parliament changed or modified the law and reintroduced it in 2005, and the bill was passed in 2005 and enacted, that means enabled, in 2006. Okay, so basically what is this new law? A press conference took place in 2006. So one asked that what is this new law, the other said this law is a first in recognizing a woman's right to a violence free home. Okay, so there should be, according to this law, a house should be violence free, and provides a comprehensive definition of domestic violence. That means whether to abuse a woman verbally also, it is also a domestic violence. That means it enhances the meaning of domestic violence. This is a civil law aimed at providing relief to millions of women. This is a civil law that listens for the people, that is for the welfare of the people. Okay, so millions of people are providing relief with it, including wives, mothers, daughters and sisters also. Now no female is subjected to any kind of violence at home. As you can see, now we will see unpopular and controversial laws. Now we will see what are unpopular and controversial laws. The laws that from which people are not happy, and it is not necessary that the laws introduced by the government is okay, or people are okay with any law that is introduced by the government. People can show their displeasure, and people may be unhappy with the laws enacted by the parliament. Let's have a look. As we are knowing that parliament is responsible for enacting any law, and as the parliament passed the law, that means that law is constitutionally legal. That means that all the things that are kept written in constitution are kept in mind before passing that law. But after that also there are some laws that are unpopular and unacceptable by people of the country. Why? Because they think that how it can be possible if the law is constitutionally legal, and then also people are not ready to accept it, because this is a vast country and peoples have their different needs. Okay, so it can be there, it must, some group of the law is good for some group of people, and some group of people are not happy with that law. Let's take an example of reservation policy. Today also some people are happy with that policy and some people are not. So let's have a look, and people are still fighting so that the reservation law can be excluded, can be just finished. So why a people or why a law became unpopular or unacceptable? Because people feel that the intention behind is unfair and unharmful, that harmful, because people think that the law is not providing them that much right and that the law is not good for them. Hence people might criticize the law by showing their dissent. We have learned about dissent. If the people is not happy with the law, they can show their displeasure in the against that law. Now how people show their dissent? So how do people show their dissent against unpopular and controversial laws? So that we will see by showing protest. This also we have learned that protest can be violent also and non-violent also. If we will talk about the non-violent protest, as you can see that people used to do peace marches, candle marches, sign petitions, lots of campaign with the help of TV, media and all these things. And there are some protests that are violent. That means people used to show their protest with violent means by burning the public transport, by all these things as you can see in the picture. So basically a law can be popular also and unpopular also. Unpopular law means the law from which people are not happy. So it is the responsibility of the government to check after issuing the law. Also the government should check that whether the people are happy or not, and if the people are not happy with the laws, they will show their dissent according to themselves. And for that it is the priority of the government to change the law according to the public opinion. So this is all for today. Thank you students. In the second part I will explain you some of the laws like Right to Information Act. I will explain you that how RTI is filed. I will explain you what is RTI, and I will explain you a new law about right to education also. Okay. So thank you students. We will meet soon with the second part of this chapter.